Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of Talking Elite Fitness. Sean Woodland, Tommy Marquez, Lauren Khalil, Brian Friend here. We are live on YouTube. We're going to preview the men's side of the 2023 NOBULL CrossFit Games. We're going to do some buy or sell, some over-under, some picks here, and just talk about some of the things that have happened that we haven't had a chance to talk about. Brian is unscathed after a trip to the DMV.
Ooh.
Or is he?
How did that go, Brian?
It wasn't so bad. I mean, it's always a risk. I just got up early, got in line, waited my turn, and answered the questions as succinctly as possible. And I did get out unharmed, so not too bad.
The big question is, did you schedule an appointment ahead of time, or did you chance it by just going in the commoner's queue?
Oh,
I attempted to schedule an appointment, but I could not. So I got there. I think I was like 12th in the line, but there were probably like 50, 60 people by the time it opened. And they came out, and then they said, anyone with an appointment, come to the front. And like 20 people went. So my 12th place position became a 32nd. But
wow.
Still not terrible. I got there like 6:15. They open at 7, and I was home by 9:15. So it's fine.
Why is it, and then we'll get onto this. I mean, this is a question I always have about the DMV. Why is it whenever you go to the DMV, you feel like the most normal and most adjusted human being in there, regardless of where you are? Like what city, it doesn't matter. Like you just walk in and you're like, wow. What is it about the DMV? Because everyone needs to use it.
Yeah. I mean, are you ever happy walking in the DMV?
No, because you just have to be a.
So
that's why my question is, who willingly chooses to work at the DMV?
I don't know.
What is it? What's that movie Zootopia? I think it was.
Yeah,
where they had the sloths working at the DMV.
That's really what it is.
Perfect. Absolutely nailed it.
100%.
Absolutely opposite the woman I had. She was
Really?
so fast.
Go
Like,
get her.
she was irritated that I asked her, excuse, what did you say? Like one time. She was speaking very, very, very quickly. But it got done really fast, so I'm not upset.
I'm probably one of those people that you feel good about when you look at, because if I'm going to the DMV, I'm not necessarily putting on my Sunday best, you know? So I'm like,
just got to look somewhat presentable from the neck up, and then people take that literally. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to start out with some news, just some things that have happened that we want to quickly get to before we get into our full-throated preview of the men's side of the upcoming CrossFit Games, which are now, well, I mean, we're going to be there in a week. You're going to be there in less than 5 days. Brian's there Friday. Yeah. Lauren, you get in Tuesday, right?
Tuesday. Yep. Tuesday morning.
You get in Tuesday. Cool. But first, we want to thank our sponsor for today, and that is Podium. We are all drinking a variation of a Podium beverage.
we're 4 for 4 right now.
I'm going to throw up this QR code, because look, if you want to go get some of the stuff, guys, scan the QR code on your screen right now. You can get I got the orange dreamsicle. Oh my God. Can't stop. Like I had to kind of like hide the tin, because I was like, I'm going to drink this whole thing in a day. I have to limit myself. It's like 2 scoops a day. That's it. That's all, because I will go. I'll drink it all.
We had to beat back our production assistants with a bamboo stick, because they
were in here.
They got a flavor of that, and they were trying to poach all of our Podium summertime flavors.
I'm like, the precious, you can't touch it.
I'm actually drinking some of the summertime lemonade right now.
Yeah.
It is refreshing. It is. I'm a big lemonade guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we make our own homemade lemonade concoction at home at the Marquez household, so it was just perfect that we would have that flavor come down the pipe from Podium. So we've talked a bunch about all the different flavors just now, but they also have, the build your own formula stuff with their Podium solos. We are drinking out of the double-walled special edition Podium solo cup. You can get any one of their individual solos, the beta-alanine, L-citrulline, and their creatine monohydrate, as well as your Podium hydro and salt, which we just talked about, the Fuse, which Lauren just dry scoops into her mouth, or the Whey, which I just had some of the cookies and cream flavor yesterday, which is fantastic. If you're not familiar with Podium, what are you doing? It's the brand born.
There's the QR code. Just scan it.
Exactly. Within the CrossFit community, from 5-time Games champion Matt Fraser, our good pals, the Buttery Bros, and everything there is created at the highest quality, help you keep chasing your Podium. So you can check out any one of their items on their store right now. If you go to 321podium.com, use TEF. You know what? That'll get you $10 off your first order. They just announced an HWPO collaboration. I'm excited for a little peanut butter chocolate flavor coming down the pipe. They also have a street parking mud pie flavor as well. So and they can get it at your affiliate. So if you're a gym owner thinking about, hey, I want to offer these products at my affiliates at a good rate, make a little money too, you can do that as well if you go to 321podium.com. And again, put in TEF, $10 off your first order. If you were just watching, go back and scan that QR code as well.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get into just some news items before we get into our men's preview. A couple things happened, have been put out there by CrossFit. We got the gymnastic skills test, and you remember that Venn diagram, and then we got the weightlifting total, which is the snatch and the clean and jerk.
Yes.
2 attempts, which makes it interesting.
I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I can't remember exactly what we talked about on the last episode.
I don't think we talked about the release of the bike either, the mountain bike.
That's the other bikes,
things I wrote down that I'm not sure if we talked about. Ant Haynes backfill. I think we may have talked about that. Demo team announcement, the 5K announcement, the Oli total announcement, gymnastics skills test, obviously, Trek bike return, Oyana Moya drug test, all sorts of stuff just coming down the pipe in the last few days.
Hopefully those bikes come with a lap counter.
Oof.
Don't want to go through that.
I hope, where the little bell normally goes, I hope that instead they have a rep counter right there.
There's another solution. 1 lap. 10 miles. See you when you get back.
That is a very good solution. Start here. You're moving off the bike until you get here. Yeah. Simple.
Easy.
Ride to the Capitol, get back.
Yeah.
Traffic and everything.
Oh my gosh. Nothing is shut down.
You just have to get to the Capitol. Give them a map and just say, start here, get to the Capitol. You got to pick up like a little ribbon and you come back.
Caroline Lambert's out there throwing sticks in front of bikes on the street.
I would be skitching in a heartbeat off of one of the back of a box truck. Oh yeah.
But we do have, the picture is starting to become a little more clear as far as some of the stuff that's out there. Still don't know the details and what the test will be for the bikes. Waiting on the actual description for the gymnastics skills, correct?
This is where you have to applaud the internet, because they filled out the Venn diagram. The only thing left before the gymnastics skills announcement was the gymnastics test, right? And someone goes, what information do we actually just get that the gymnastics circle is a gymnastics test? I was, oh man,
that's pretty good.
The jokes were flying, and I was here for it. Definitely.
Well, how do you guys feel about the lack of detail?
Hey, Help is here. What's up, Help?
How do you guys feel about the lack of detail for the gymnastics skills test compared to the seemingly a lot of information for the other ones?
Well, I think that you have to kind of read between the lines based on the posts that the CrossFit Games Instagram account put out. They put out the parallel bars from last year. They put out the handstand walk video of the bridge and then going down the stairs. So I think maybe they're putting clues out there without actually saying it. But I'm hopeful in the next coming days we'll have more details.
Well, I was going to say, I think more so than anything, practice affects outcome with the gymnastics skills elements more than just like a 5K or a weightlifting total. These are things that most people in the community have had plenty of practice. So if there's maybe something new coming, that's possible. Like if there's a new implement, you would want to prevent people from practicing that. You want them to adapt. I think the adaptation element is at a higher priority for the gymnastics skill.
There is also a possibility that they're still testing this thing.
Always that possibility.
I mean, really, they could be wait until we got to get on site. We got to see how this lays out. We got to see what, they could still be testing.
And there are definitely things. And there are definitely things that it makes sense to test on site, as we all know. But to Lauren's point, I had this thought this morning. I was training over at the gym with Taylor South, and we were mentioning the fact that everyone's speculating on versions of Helen, but everyone's speculating for changes to the weightlifting or gymnastics, and I have heard nobody speculate to the change of the monostructural implement. And what if the clues are just misleading? And the clue for Helen is Justin Medeiros running, but it's actually rowing Helen or something like that. And maybe the gymnastic skills are there in the picture, but those aren't the skills that are going to be tested in the test.
Or swimming Helen.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
Could be cool. Swimming
good
Helen.
luck with that. Yeah.
I'm still dying for Barkley. That's one of my favorite lines from Talladega Nights. I don't understand your tactics. So I'm gonna take it as disrespect.
Yeah.
Oh man, he knows how to hit my funny bone there.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about other than
a bummer about the Oyana Moya
that's
drug
too
test.
bad.
She was someone that was kind of on the cusp, and I think a lot of us thought might maybe make the jump out of Europe. The substances were Ostrin and GW 1516. Again, like if you pick the two most prevalent things that show up in drug test announcements, it's those two specifically. So, yep.
All right. Well, that's everything's going on, and I'm sure more details will be coming out. There's still some, and I'm just going to say there's still other announcements that are pending that I hope they get out there before we get to Madison. So,
yeah. Demo team though. Any thoughts on the demo team?
I am so excited for this demo team.
I think it's super close looking.
It's why am I blanking on his name?
It's Griffin Raleigh.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
No.
It's
the heavy
Sydney
stuff.
Mikulishin.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ashley Wozni.
Yes.
It is Carrie and Mitchell Stevenson. It is Victor Hoffer.
Yes, thank you. For some reason I totally blanked on his name, but I'm so excited to see him, especially when we're talking about what the gymnastics skills test is going to be. I can't wait to see him do whatever it is.
Bob has a good comment here. C2 bike Helen.
That was one of
that sounds nicer.
That was one of JR's predictions this year, is that the individuals will get the C2 bike, which they have never had before.
They've had the Watt
I never
bike.
thought
Didn't
of
they have
that.
that back in 2011 when the Killer Cage?
Killer Cage had the Watt bike.
I feel like the only time that thing has ever shown up in the.
Yeah,
it was yellow, wasn't it?
White, maybe whitish yellow.
Yeah,
I thought it was white and red.
Maybe I can't remember. I was in the stands at that point, so I just remember the Watt bike, and it had like this big old handlebar system. But anyway.
I was coordinating volunteers at that point.
All right, you guys set to get into the men's preview here?
Let's do it.
All right, we're gonna do this kind of the same way we did our teams preview. If you guys listen to that, I've got 5 statements that we're going to ask the panel here. Whether you're going to buy or sell. We got an over under. We got a what else we have? We have some picks, and then we are going to give our top 5 picks.
And we also have dark horse rookie.
Yeah, we give some dark horse rookie of the year stuff like that.
Most improved.
Okay, so let's get to the first. Let's see where we want to start here. We'll start with the rookie one. Okay, so our first statement: over under on wins by a rookie on the men's side. Tommy, I will start with you because I feel like this is right.
Let's just give some statistical context.
All right, let's have Brian give some context to this because the reason we chose 1.5 is because Brian, as always, the brains of the organization, came up with some numbers to back up that choice.
So since 2016, the number of rookie event wins at the CrossFit Games by year is 7 in 2016, which is a super outlier. Obviously, Brent Fikowski had 4 that year by his own. 2017, there were 2. 2018, there were 3. 2019, 2. 2022, in 2020, there were also 2. 2021, there was 1. And last year, there were 2. So 1.5 seemed like a good over-under to set for this.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm going to...
Okay, so we'll start with you. This is going to go to you because you're, like I said, this is in your wheelhouse.
I mean, even if this is like minus 150 and I got to pay a little juice on this just to get my number, I am buying this wholeheartedly.
So you're going over?
Yes. I'm going to go over on this one just because I think you don't know what the full tests are, but just the way that they're inching us towards these almost like monostructural type single modality tests that they seem to be popping out. That's where I feel like these rookies can actually shine in some of these components, right? Like when you start to have these mixed modality tests that include games level implements that maybe some of these rookies haven't had a chance to like fully test out or play with or train for. I think the more single modality stuff, the higher chance that one of these rookies can land, a home run shot to me. I mean, some people are already throwing out Yella's name in the comments. I think James Sprague is a guy that lends itself to maybe winning a single modality event if it pops up. And there are just a few athletes, I think, on the rookie side for the men that can compete on some implements with the best in the sport.
Yeah. And this is just for the men. We're just doing just the men. Okay, so let's go, Lauren. you're up next. Over or under on wins by a rookie? 1.5. You going over? You going under?
You know, sometimes I like to hang out on the opposite side of the street where I'm a lone wolf, and then I stand there and I just wait to prove y'all wrong. I am going under. I think Yellow Hosta is going to be the one to have event wins at the CrossFit Games. But I think that what people are forgetting, and I know that all of you guys are the numbers guys, and I am not a numbers person.
Not all you guys.
Thank you, Sean. We're in a corner
notes
together.
on paper. Yeah.
So you can see on the screen, we're split by the number people versus the passion people. And I am passionate for the guys at the top of the leader, 1 through 10. I think that we're forgetting how competitive they are and how we have some home run hitters that have been to the CrossFit Games, have the experience. And I think Yella is going to be the only one on the men's field to take home event wins at the CrossFit Games. So I'm going with the under.
I noticed you said event wins. Plural.
Yep. Yep.
On wins by a rookie. What? I don't understand. What am I missing?
Yes. If you said wins, that means plural, which means it would be over 1.5. It would have to be in at least 2. I'm getting you on semantics.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
Purely
I have misread the question. I thought you meant more than one athlete that's a rookie.
Oh.
Okay, so you're going to go over. So you're going to say that there are. So no, this is how many events or tests will be run by a rookie.
Okay, I'm crossing the street. I'm hanging out with the rest of the group. I'm going over.
We're back to over. Okay, I'm sorry. I was sending a tweet. Okay.
She threw up double birds and just walked across the street.
It sucks over here. I'm going to the other side.
Yeah, maybe I'm hit by a semi truck on the way, but that's okay.
Oh man,
you're nimble. You'll make it. All right, we will go now to Brian Friend. What say you? Over under on wins by a rookie?
Well, I'm going to stay on the side of the street that Lauren abandoned. I'm going to stay with the under on this one. And I'm going to basically stay over here for the reason she said. I think that the top of the men's field is very strong. I think a lot of the event wins are going to come from the eventual top 10 to 15 places. I think it's going to be very difficult this year for any of the rookies to get into the top 10. So I think that obviously veterans will occupy those spots. And I think that in the case of some of those specialty things that could pop out, there's more veterans that are also good at those skill sets than there are rookies. And while Yellow Hoste is obviously a guy who you could, and James Sprague is a guy who could see winning an event, I think even on the events that they're great at, that there's other people in this field that are going to be contenders for that. And I think more often than not, the veteran experience will play. So I'll take a 1 or 0 for this.
1 or 0. Okay.
Ooh, hot topic.
That brings it to me. And you know what? Let's make this interesting. We'll split this right down the middle. So I'm going to go hang out on the on Brian's side. I'm going to go.
You just said life's too short to bet.
It is,
but
it's also too short to, not have a good variety here. But and let me tell you, the guy I think who's going to win is I think like Jake Douglas is looking at that weightlifting total. He had the 310-pound snatch at the Torian Pro.
He's got to get there. And
that's a good point.
Against myself. What am I saying?
No, I think I'm going to go under. It's going to be really hard, I think, for the rookies to break through. I'm a big fan of Yellow Hosta and what he brings to the table. And, in our interview, he said that he likes a lot of that out of the box type stuff that you're prone to see at the CrossFit Games. I think he will do well, but to win is going to be tough. I mean, I think he might have some top 4s, top 3s. And if Jake Douglas can get to that point, I think he can win that as well on Saturday night. So, I'm going to go under. We'll go 50-50 on this. So there you go.
Tommy and I are eating street tacos on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're talking.
I don't know. Street tacos were involved.
Exactly.
Oh, now you want to cross the street, Brian.
Yeah.
Hey, life's too short to bet the under. That's why we got street tacos.
Yeah. I don't know why Brian's video is flipped. Someone in the comments wants to know. Maybe he has his camera mirrored. Whatever.
It's all good.
I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Looks good to me.
What matters is that Brian is here and he is well informed. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go to the next question. So let's see. We just did rookies. All right. We'll go to the other end of the spectrum here. This is now we got to make a pick. Okay. This is Who will have the best finish among the men making their 10th appearances at the game? So those three of them. There's Noah Olson, there is Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson, and Cole Sager, all making their 10th straight appearance at the games. All debuted in 2014. And Noah Olson was at one point the overall leader in 2014. We have an interview up with him on our audio channels if you guys want to go check that out. But anyway, we will start. We'll go up one. We'll go to Lauren. You're going to kick us off here. Best finish among the men making their 10th appearances.
To me, it's gotta be Noah Olson. I honestly think that he has looked better than he has in years. He's controlled, he's relaxed. I mean, he has his dog Max in his corner. Who couldn't want to have the best companion cheering for you as you make your 10th debut at the CrossFit Games? And honestly, he is the only athlete out of these three that has taken a podium finish during semifinals. He took third place in event 5. I think he's going to be the one of the athletes that's really going to have some star power as he tips his hat to his 10th year at the games.
Okay. I like that. We'll go across to Brian.
Yeah. So just for the history buffs out there, the split between these guys is 4-4-1. Noah has had the better of them 4 times. BKG has had the better of them 4 times. And Cole Sager had the best finish amongst them in 2016. I do think it's going to come down to Noah and BKG. I actually think this is going to be a pretty good year for Noah overall. I have a good feeling about him, but I feel that way about BKG as well. And I'm going to take him on this pick. I saw him, I've talked about this before, but I saw him right after the final last year where he finished 9th place. And I knew he was like pretty disappointed in that finish. And his, this entire year has been targeted around improving upon that at the games. I think that it was one of those years where what we saw from him at semifinals is not indicative of what we'll see him at the games. He's been the best of these 3 guys the last 2 years, and I think that'll continue this year.
Okay. Good call. We will now go to
you.
Go to me. All right. I always like going last, but whatever.
He likes holding the trump card.
I do. I like making things interesting here. But I'm with Lauren. I just got a feeling about Noah Olson. I think that, see, there you go. I think that his attitude towards this whole thing and sort of just going and understanding that he's going to have some fun. He is, understands that he's not I don't want to say a serious threat to win, but he understands that ship has probably sailed. And I believe when you're an athlete and you go and you just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to control what I can control. I'm going to enjoy the experience. I'm going to have a great time. That somehow unlocks your better performances. I think it will come down to him and Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson. I think Bjorgvin will have a really good run as well. I just think I like a good story. Noah has, he's told us in the interview we did with him, most likely 90% going team next year with Chandler Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I like him going out on a high here. Because he's had so many times where he was like almost. And I think this would be a fitting end to his individual career. So I'm going Noah Olson.
Ooh.
Tommy.
Okay.
What say you?
Because we just spoke with him, my heart kind of leans to Noah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for a couple of reasons, I'm going to go ultimately with BK because I just don't want to be caught overlooking him again.
I know. That's a really good point.
It's like, I can't keep getting away with this. But realistically, in the last 2 years, under a similar format, since we got out of the online sanctionals era, which is where 2 of Noah's finishes ahead of the pack, 2 of those 4 wins came from, BK has gotten the better of each of them. And honestly, I think the biggest thing is his penchant for not having bottom 10 finishes. I mentioned this during semifinals. In 100+ events at the games, you can count on one hand the bottom 10 finishes that BK has in his career. He's just insanely good at cutting out the bad finishes across a multitude of modalities and twists and turns. And he is really good about, I guess the term is like staying within himself. And he may not ride the lightning like some other athletes will to a test win, but he knows how to play his game and keep it between the buoys as good as anyone arguably in the history of the sport has given, his results. Now, again, I hope it's one of those scenarios like in 2018 where they all finished one spot away from each other when they went 5, 6, 7, and we get this battle down to the end. So we get to see the best of all three of them in year 10. But I still think that in the end, it'll be King BK getting the best of it.
You are picking with your head, and I think Lauren and I picked with our hearts.
That is so true.
I mean, I don't think it's that crazy of. I don't think it's that crazy
I love
of a
Cole
pick.
Sager too, man. I love Cole
I
Sager.
know. I love him too. It's so hard. I like
Such a
all
good
of
dude.
these guys.
Yeah, they're all great human beings. So,
But
sorry.
Noah
I
has
think it's
the
a
best
crazy
dog.
pick to take Noah this year. I think Noah is. I have the same feeling as you guys that this will be a good games for him, and I think that he's on the verge of being omitted from that top 10 conversation, and I don't think he should be. I think he should be considered as a threat to still have a top 10 finish at the games. And to your point, Sean, I think you'll actually fans can get to see Noah and Chandler Smith compete before next season, even together over in Madrid this September.
I did see that.
Yeah. You'll be at that, won't you?
Doing the broadcast, yeah.
Nice. All right.
And honestly, to maybe put a feather in you and Lauren's camp, is the last time Noah fully kind of surrendered the outcome was in 2019 when he had that podium run, because it hadn't been a smooth lead up that season. And it was one of those things where he just was not going to tie himself to an expectation on the leaderboard. And I think we're closer to that this year than we are in some of the other years for him.
All right. Next one. Next one. And Brian, you're going to be up first on this. This is another buy or sell. Jeff Adler will be the top Canadian.
I like this one.
Buy or sell, Brian Friend.
Oh gosh. So for me, all respect to Brent Fikowski, Alex Vigneault, but I have to say this is between Pat and Jeff for the top Canadian male based on recent history, and I'm gonna sell on Adler here. I'm gonna take Vellner. I mean, I'm laughing because this is a very difficult question. Like the margins between these two guys is incredibly small. One spot at semifinals, one spot at Rogue. They didn't compete against each other at semis this year. Jeff got the better of him at the games last year. Pat obviously has a history of incredible performances at the games. I thought 2 years ago that it was Vellner's last chance to win the games in 2021. And if he didn't get it done, that he would never get it done and never even have a chance to do it again. And he's still in the conversation for that this year. And I feel like he has just as good a chance this year as he did 2 years ago. And when you think about, when I think about Adler, I think that he's still improving, which is incredible. And the trajectory he's been on is phenomenal, but I don't think of him as a guy who can win the games. And since I do think about Vellner in that way, this year, I'm going to have to sell Adler on this one.
Okay. Brian Friend selling on that, which now I guess I'm up next, right? All right. I am, let me tell you what, man, I'm buying this all the way. I'm buying this with a bunch of Canadian funny money with waterfowl and put some toonies down with that too. I am a big believer in Jeff Adler. And I think the reason is like we talked to him and his coach. I think this is after quarterfinals, Carolyn Lambre, who I will say again, is probably one of the most underrated coaches in the space right now. They have changed his training from let's just get to the games and be competitive to let's win. And I think he believes he can. I was impressed with him at the North America East semifinal. Think back to 2020 when we had that oddball year, just down or over here in Morgan Hill. He was he was upset that Matt Fraser was running away with this thing. The guy as a competitor, I think he is peaking at the right time. And I think it does come down to between him and Vellner. And I wouldn't, Sam Cornway wouldn't shock me either if he at times was in this conversation. But I'm just a big fan of Jeff Adler and what he's doing. And I think he edges out Pat Vellner to be the top Canadian. So I'm buying that.
This feels very much like the Noah BK conversation in that they're going to be right there close to each other. They were a spot apart on the leaderboard last year. I think again, I think we mentioned this coming into semifinals, and maybe as one of the discussion points leading into it is I think this is the strongest Canadian men contingent we've ever seen.
No question.
I think there's a strong chance that they're going to have 5 athletes inside the top 15, potentially 4. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the day, 4 out of the 10 athletes in the top 10 were waving the maple leaf.
I can see that too.
So it's really tough to just hang your hat on one, but I'm going to follow. I'm going to let Sean lead block for me on the Jeff Adler power eye formation. I'm going to buy that
All
one.
Right.
And 3 yards in a cloud of dust in his way. It's not going to be pretty. I don't think Adler will win any events. He's going to 6th, 7th, 9th, 12th, 4th his way to a podium finish and be the top Canadian man.
And I just want to correct something, since we are talking Canadian. Probably don't have a fullback in that formation, given how we only have 3 downs.
That's true, and you get a running start, so it's
exactly.
a bit different.
So got to rely heavily on the passing game there. All right, so I'm buying that. Tommy's buying that. That brings us to Lauren. Lauren, what say you? Buy or sell? Jeff Adler will be the top Canadian.
I'm sorry, Brian Friend, you're on the other side of the street alone again, because I'm buying this. And the biggest difference to me when you look at an athlete like Jeff Adler and Pat Vellner is the killer instinct. When they get off of the floor, Jeff is very focused. And if he did poorly in an event, he's very, I don't want to say like crisp, maybe curt with his words, and he's angry, but then he moves on to the next one. But he has that killer instinct in him. And Pat Vellner comes off, maybe had a bad event. I'll interview him and he's like, oh yeah, sometimes that just happens. And he's just a little more fluid with his response to a poor performance. And maybe that is good for him. Maybe that's how he stays so successful. But I think when it comes down to it, Jeff Adler is going to be the Canadian that not only edges out Pat Vellner, but I see him on the podium this year.
Oh, okay then. I don't think that's an outlandish prediction, though. I think a lot of people think that Jeff Adler has legitimate podium aspirations. All right, this brings us to our next one. Oh, I have to leave.
Super comfortable on this side of the street.
I don't think it's definitely between those two. And I
should have worn my Pat Vellner jersey if I knew I was going to be taking
it. Should have.
In lieu of street tacos, you have bagged milk.
That's okay. We're going to throw it across you at the street at you guys after we cover you with flowers.
We got Timmy Hortons at me as well.
There's a throwback.
Okay,
for those
next
open
one.
Fans out there.
4th question. And I got to lead this one off. Oh boy. Okay, this is Roman Khrennikov will finish on the podium. Gee, I was hoping I didn't have to go first on this one, because this was one of the toughest ones for me. Boy, I am going to sell this, because I have to, because given the predictions that we'll have later on, I do not have Roman on the podium. I have him close, but I don't have him on it. And it's so hard. It's so hard to repeat that. Because I think for the longest time, wasn't there a time where it was just Matt Fraser and 2 other guys, Matt Fraser, 2 new guys, Matt Fraser, 2 new guys. Like it's really hard.
Well, I think Vellner was always hanging around there, actually.
Yeah, but as far as like getting on the podium, wasn't he like the first? He was the only guy to repeat, maybe.
Yeah. He was the only guy to repeat.
But other than that, it was Matt Fraser, a couple different guys. Matt Fraser, a couple different guys. Yeah, and I just like. I don't know, man. I think that there's a couple other guys that I think will make it on the podium just ahead of Roman. So I'm selling this. So you're second. You're up, Tommy.
Ooh. I will explain why, but I'm buying this.
You're buying it. All right.
I think there's a just as a hint, I think the fact that it looks like on the game schedule there's just 4 days straight. I think that plays into Roman's hand.
Okay.
Just how he is as an athlete as the weekend goes on. So I will elaborate more on that later, but I am 100%
okay. You'll elaborate on that on your picks.
Yes.
Okay. So you're sort of punting this then.
Yes, but I'm just saying my picks will back up Roman being on the podium.
Oh, okay. That's a good tease. All right, Lauren, you're up. Roman Khrennikov. on the podium.
I am buying this. I went to the
Okay.
bank, I printed out my cash, and I am buying Roman Khrennikov to not only be on the podium, but to be on top of the podium. And I know that is a hot take, and yeah, we'll get more into it when we actually show our athlete rankings. But to me, he has that consistency in his lifestyle, in his programming, in his coaches now that he really just hasn't been able to have since moving over to the U.S. He's been with Mayhem for almost the entire training year. Rich Froning's in the corner giving him all of his little secrets for him to stand on top of the podium. And I think this is the year that we see Roman, like we did last year. We saw him get close to skirting up on top of that podium, but it just didn't edge out for him in the end. I think this is the year that we see him back on the podium and at the top.
All right. Brian, you are up next. Do you think Roman Khrennikov will finish on the podium?
Absolutely. Absolutely buying this. I think that Roman's one of those athletes that you can be misled by some off-season stuff. You know, oh, well, yeah, he might have done well at the games last year, but 5th at Rogue. Oh, he might have done well at the games last year, but he didn't even podium at semifinals. But we're not talking about those competitions. We're talking about the games. I think Tommy makes a good point that this guy is resilient. He's tough. He's built for the long haul. He averaged basically a 6th place finish at the games last year with nothing worse than a 15th. That was on the ring muscle up workout. The ring muscle up workout in and of itself has basically prevented him from winning every competition that he's done since being able to come to the United States. But that's his worst finish, and it's 15th. The guys below him on the leaderboard from last year, Quant, Adler, Vellner, Hopper, Jukic, etc., they all have at least 2 finishes worse than that. This guy has Tommy talked about BKG having no bottom 10s, and quite frankly, BKG barely has any bottom 20 finishes even at the games. Roman didn't have a single one last year, top 15 on everything, getting better as the weekend goes on, can win events. I think that the games is what he lives and breathes for. He's been posting it for how many months? I'm ready. I'm coming. I see you there. Mm-hmm. And I think that
I got chills.
He's going to show up and mean business. And I think that the better question is, can he win than can he podium?
Wow, you're making me want to maybe change my pick.
Sorry, now Sean's out of the.
I'm all about myself over there. That's okay. I'm comfortable. That's all right. You know, can't agree. I will accept your apologies when this thing plays out.
Are you gonna? Right. Yeah, but he's gonna say, Sean Woodland, meet me in parking lot.
Yeah, no, I'll be like, I don't want any part of those hands. You ever shook that guy's hand?
Just disappears. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's like just these bear paws, gigantic, and they're well lotioned too. Remember that?
They are. Yeah,
very soft.
Quite soft.
Yeah, he grabbed my hand and went, okay, there was 2 thoughts. I was like, that is a gigantic mitt, and would you use to moisturize that? All right, last question here. The final margin between the top 3 men will be closer than it was in 2022, and that was 116 points separating first from third. Who we starting with?
Should be Tommy, I think. Wasn't he first on the first one?
I think we're going with Lauren. Lauren's going first.
Oh, yeah,
should be me.
All right, Tommy, you go first. Tommy's first. All right.
We just rotate.
Okay, here we go.
I'm buying.
Wow.
I am. Yeah, I'm buying. I have a stat that backs it up for at least one of the athletes. And I think that we'll see better versions. I think we'll see better versions across the board of Fikowski, Adler, Vellner, Hopper, Lazar, you name it, as they start to settle in with another year of Boz's programming under their belt. I think overall it's just going to be closer. It is, and that's not to say that Justin hasn't gotten better, and Justin won't be in a similar boat as Roman as far as like the games are the goal, and this is where I'm going to peak. I just think the number between him and Gerard was a little misleading with how close it felt throughout most of the competition, given the tail off. And now, granted, I have some stats that support the opposite coming in based off what we saw last year, but I do think we've seen good enough improvement across the board from a lot of athletes to where it may not be tremendously closer, but triple digits for both podium finishers. I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't the case and it was closer to 2021.
Okay. I'm going to buy this as well.
Just skipping the order. Go for it, Sean.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here.
Whatever.
Hey, I'd be in charge for a while. Yeah, I'm buying this. because on my screen, I'm like, we're just going to go in like a circle here. That's kind of what I'm doing. So anyway, that's how my brain works. So I'm buying this. And I think it'd actually be super close between the top 4. And for really all the reasons that you talked about, I just think that the top of the men's field is really loaded. Yeah. And in the past, when we've seen a champion get established, and I mean, Ben Smith is the obvious exception because he just won 1. But like with Fraser and Toomey, they just started pulling that way up from people. Like it was over before, it was a coronation when those guys showed up at the CrossFit Games. I think this is the first time in a while that we saw that margin shrink.
Yeah.
Between, a repeat champion and the field. I think it might get even more narrow. And I think you look, the only thing you can go back to look at right now is semifinals. Justin finished 5th of the West? 5th or 6th.
6th.
Didn't have his best. It wasn't his
head.
best performance. Some things went wrong for him, but a lot of the guys that I think will be in contention for one of the spots on the podium were there in the West with him. Now I think he'll get a lot of that sorted out going to the games. Still expect him to do very well at the games. But I think those guys are starting to reel him in. I think people are starting to reel him in, and better, more talented athletes are getting into the field that can really have an effect on the race at the top. So I'm all over this. I'm buying. All right, who's next? Brian, you want to go next? Oh, no, we'll go Lauren. We'll just make that circle. We'll go Lauren. So Lauren can be next.
Okay, I'm going to sell this one, and I'm going to
Ooh.
explain why. I think that last year, the battle between Justin, Roman, and Ricky was one of the best battles that, truthfully, we've ever seen, especially as a fan, and then just seeing the back and forth. I can't remember who put it out. Maybe it was Mike Halpin, but you could see almost like the leaderboard switch and reverse. Does anybody remember who put that out?
Halpin did that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mike
yeah,
Halpin.
it's
And
been
it was so cool to see. I hope he did it again. If he's still in the live chat, take notes because we want to see that again. But I think that Roman and Justin are going to have a tight point spread, but then I think it's going to be the 3rd through 5th is really where we're going to see the battle happen. That 1 through 3rd doesn't do it for me. 3rd through 5th is where I'm seeing it. So we're going to sell this one.
Okay. By the way, Coffee Paws and Wads in the comments giving me crap about my laptop and lack of stickers, like the personality difference here. Like I'm just right down the middle. Let's just keep it nice and clean there. So yeah, I guess I'll try to find a few stickers to put.
So
if I do that, I feel like, hello, young people. I have
hello, fellow
young
kids.
stickers on my laptop.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know. I put stickers on everything. It's just skateboard habit.
Yeah,
I can't commit to doing it to a laptop.
Yeah.
Well, that you buy the cover for the laptop, so I can always swap it out.
Oh,
Ooh, there you go. See,
pro move.
young people.
Yep.
All right. Back to the show here. Brian, you're up next.
I think Lauren makes a great point there, and I certainly could see that happening, but I'm going to go with the guys on this one. I'm going to buy a tight race at the top. I'm going to say 4 or 5 guys are going to be, at the very least, possibly even up to 6 guys are going to be in podium contention, like legitimately in podium contention going to the last day. If you look at some, I took Matt Fraser out of the equation for all these years just because, but the last 5 years that we've had, so this is going to be 2016, 17, 18, 21, 22. The margins of the top 3 omitting Fraser are 36, 128, 108, 206, and 116 last year. So, it can go either way. I think it's a great question. But I feel like this is going to be a deep, tight race for the podium and for the win. And I'm hopeful that that's the case and that it's, within 100 for 4 or 5 guys with one event to go.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'm with you. I think it's going to be one of those where we get to that final day and there's going to be a lot on the line.
Oh man.
At least I hope so, because that's what makes it really exciting to watch. Okay, those were our 5 questions. Now we're going to pick our top 5. And look, I'll volunteer as tribute. I'll go first.
Do we want to go fit? Do we want to go round by round, or
you want to go at number? You want to do that? You guys just going to go we'll go 5 down to 1?
Yeah, let's
one
do
at
that.
a time. Okay, let's do that. All right. So
in the 5 spot.
In the 5 spot. All right. So I'll start, then we'll go to Tommy, and then we'll go to Brian. Lauren, you can close us out here.
Cool.
All right. In the 5 spot for me, Brent Fikowski. Going to make it to the top 5. It's going to be a banner year for the Canadians. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I
like what Brent's doing this year. I think this is the year where he's in the top 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Number 5.
Would not be surprised. My number 5 is Jason Hopper. And I was actually tempted to put him on the podium here because I do think the ceiling is being in that lead group, contending at the top. Big question is how he handles the twists and variations of things that come up at the games that are really tough to account for with your regular every day-to-day training during the year. Because I think that's where he ultimately left points on the table last season, even making it in the top 10. Elizabeth elevated with the P-bar switch, skill speed medley up and over with the logs, rinse and repeat, bike to work. And I think he'll be able to showcase an improved area of that. And I think he's salivating over some of the stuff that's been announced, like the 5K run and the Oli total. I'll portion out. Year 1 was humbling for him. Year 2 was ascending for him. Year 3 is contending. And I think, looking at the comparison across semifinals, and he's second, I think he'll prove that with a career best finish again.
Okay. Brian.
I also have Jason Hopper 5th. I think that Tommy makes excellent points there. I was also tempted to put him higher. I just think the top 4 guys are a little bit more proven, have a little bit more consistency. This is still be an improvement for Jason, moving up from last year into the top 5 this year. But I also don't think it's a guarantee. Like, there are plenty of other men that he'll need to fend off to get a top 5 finish. And I think, like Tommy alluded to, some of the big question marks for Jason are always going to come down to the gymnastics. And when we have just like these looming things of unknown skills, and we see that those are some of the things that hurt him the biggest last year. But I think that, he's going to take some hits is basically what I think. However, I feel that the training and preparation that he's done, especially moving up to Vermont for a specific period of time leading into this, you guys spoke with, I don't know if, I was listening to Jake Douglas talk about HWPO environment there and having all these eyes on the coaches and everything like that. And I think that's something that Jason needs and thrives in that environment. So I feel that overall his execution, and when it comes to the gymnastic stuff, no matter if it's hard for him or not, that being able to maximize his potentials in those events is going to be better, and therefore push him up the leaderboard a little bit.
Okay. Lauren in the 5th spot.
Sorry to make this show boring, but I also have Jason Hopper in 5th. Ooh. And I see that at Cave Dastro says, I hope they don't leave Quant out of their top 5s. And
I saw that. I'm like,
truthfully, he's not in my top 5, but to be totally transparent, I don't know a ton about his off-season training the way that I think I know about the top 5. What did you say, Tommy?
I just like the name. And it's the cornrows pick.
Cave Dastro with the cornrows. So yeah, I'm putting Jason Hopper in the 5th spot. I definitely expect to see him improving from last year, just with some of his changes in lifestyle, moving to HWPO, similar to what Brian and Tommy had said. But if he moved into the 4th spot, I also wouldn't be totally shocked.
Yeah. Okay. Back to me for number 4. Can I say Khrennikov? No, I got Roman Khrennikov in 4th. I think he's still going to be top 5. I just think that there are 3 guys who I had to kind of put above him, because I guess with Roman, I don't have the sample size of the games. There's just one time for him, which is really impressive. Don't get me wrong. But if I had if he did it, like if this was what he was doing consistently, and also his performance in semifinal wasn't the best, I just had to knock him down a bit. So I got him in the top 5. I think he will be in podium contention. I got him in 4th place overall, though. Tommy.
I got Pat Vellner. Much like
How
his
dare you?
Canadian compatriots, semis were a big momentum builder for him. I like that he won despite not having clean execution across the board. We talked about it that weekend. He made a curious decision to send it on the run in test 1. He piled up 4 to 5 no reps on the last pirouette handstand walk at semifinals. But in each time he was able to still recover in some capacity, lean on his gymnastic stamina in test 2 to bounce back from the first test. Even despite all those no reps, he was chasing Medeiros, maybe just 10 seconds behind him heading into those no reps. He lost over a minute from them, but still finished top 10 in that test. He will likely win an event at the games, possibly multiple. The question is the damage of the single modality stuff relative to the other guys that I'm putting on this list. There's a
Okay.
handful of guys that I don't think maybe like these single modality stuff as much as everyone else, whether it's the 5K, the traditional Oli lift. I think Pat is at his best with these odd object mixed modality things that combine high skilled gymnastics. Outdoor. I think North Park is his venue that he owns, and this could easily bump up a couple spots depending on whether or not he inevitably takes a chance and if it pays off or not. So,
Brian, number 4.
I got Jeff Adler in the 4 spot. Again, small improvement from last year. I project for him this year. Definitely contender for the podium. I just think the top 3 guys are better than him. And we'll see how it plays out. Adler has consistently proven me wrong over the years. Definitely, respecting him, but picking him for 4th.
Finally, Lauren, number 4.
And 4th, I also have Pat Vellner. And I just want to make note that I did not copy off anybody's homework. And I submitted my picks before anybody else.
You did.
True.
That is a fact.
That is a fact.
Absolutely.
And I didn't change my order based on the programming that was released, like Brian.
That's not actually. I did not. That is not what I changed my picks.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with using the information you have. All right. That's called tactical advantage. All right. Number 3. Back to me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Pat Vellner getting on the podium. Like I said, it's going to be a banner year for the Canadians. 3 of them are going to be inside the top 5. Vellner is going to have a bronze medal around his neck. This is the year. There's not going to be any major mistake. There's not going to be any digging out of a hole. It's going to be a nice, consistent performance across the way. He is going to make take calculated risks. He is going to attack. Some of it may not pay off, but it's not going to blow up for him. And he's going to put himself on the podium. Tommy, number 3.
Oh man. Okay. Let's see. I'm going Roman Khrennikov here. So a couple things. I mentioned that the length of the test matters. Brian reiterated that too. From test 7 on, the 2 top athletes in terms of average finish at the games were Justin Medeiros and Roman Khrennikov, both averaging about a 4.5 finish from there on out. They tied exactly in points through the back half of the competition. So after test 7, Justin and Roman notched the exact same amount of points. So a lot of these points that I'm making now, you could argue for Justin as well. I think it's actually better for Roman that right now, as it stands, the 5K and the lifting total are scheduled on Saturday at the games, because I think his overall stamina across the weekend keeps his relative max closer to what it might be fresh versus some of these newcomers that might end up a little banged up and a little bit more sore than they're used to with the game's intensity come the weekend time. I think you sprinkle in something that we mentioned, the bike is coming. Well, Roman was 6th at the bike last year. Hopefully if it's something similar, then it'll be something he can do pretty well at. 0 bottom half finishes last year, as Brian said. The big question for him is, what does the gymnastics skills test and Helen variation look like? Because I think those are be 2 tests where I think could be kind of the rudders that steer the ship, whether he's higher on the podium or not.
All right, Brian.
I got Pat Vellner finishing 3rd.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I picked him over Jeff, so I got to pick him ahead of him in the rankings here. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be tight. I've been having a feeling for a few weeks to a month even that there might not be a swim at this year's games. I've been thinking for years that there might not be a swim at the games eventually. The lake's always a risk. The pool is very expensive. We know there's been some financial things this year for CrossFit overall. So that's there's other people that have made that prediction. We'll see. Obviously, that would be, I think, 40 to 50 points in Pat's favor against some of the other top contenders, which would, be enough to put him back in the podium mix at the very least. I also looked as other really, really bad finish last year was the heavy part of shuttle to overhead B. This year, so far from what we've seen, an Olympic lifting total, probably going to fare much, much better than a 35th place finish on that. Obviously, he didn't do great on the sandbag. So if there's other strength tests, there's still a potential for a lower finish there relative to the field. But I'm just impressed that he's still able to compete at this high level. Like I said, I thought 2 years ago was his last chance. I still think he has a chance this year to win, but I'm picking him 3rd.
Okay. Lauren, and Bruce Wayne says hi.
Hello, Bruce. Nice to see you in the chat. And yes, we are live today.
Doing it live. All right, number 3. Who do you got?
I'm putting the Canadian Jeff Adler in the 3rd place spot. And this is where I think the 3rd to 4th place between him and Vellner, we're really going to see that really close points margin. Brian brings up a good point about swimming that might alter my placement and rankings here, but I still feel like Jeff has the edge when it comes to the killer instinct. I think he's going to be on the podium. Again, 3 and 4, the Canadians. Who knows? Maybe both of them will end up on the podium, but as of now, just Jeff.
Okay.
Just Jeff.
Just Jeff.
Okay. My name is Jeff. That brings us to our top 2, and I'm going to kick that one off. I am going with Jeff Adler. He will finish 2nd. It will be close. I don't know why. I'm just all aboard the Jeff Adler train, man. I got my Timmy Hortons. I got my hockey stick, Maple Leaf flag,
Pond hockey.
Alan Thicke poster. And rocking some Bryan Adams,
No. The Canadian government
maybe a little rush
has
as well.
Apologized on multiple
maybe
occasions.
A little
for Bryan
rush
Adams.
as well, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going Jeff Adler. I think this is his year that he gets himself on the podium. And not quite to the top, but he's gonna have a silver medal around his neck.
It's funny you would say that because that's who I have in the
Do
2
you?
spot
All right,
too.
good.
Yeah. Since 2021 games, he's got 2 podiums at Rogue, 4th in Dubai, 5th place at the 22 games. Tied is his best, which is arguably his best finish, even despite he had another 5th. Team win at Wadapalooza, 2 semifinal wins. And he just consistently has improved and put himself on a trajectory in live competition that points towards him eventually breaking through on the podium. And so I'm choosing it to be this year. I think he may not relish the single modality stuff as much as some of the other guys on this list. He still excels at short, heavy type workouts, especially going below parallel like back 9 or the back attack workout at Rogue. But what I think is most impressive is if you talk to the average person on the street, it'd be hard to pinpoint exactly what has been the catalyst for his overall ascension in the sport, because he has made these small incremental improvements across the board without necessarily needing to, have these flashy performances. And he just starts to consistently chip away at the small things. And that's the approach that's partially been, driven by his coach, Caroline Lambre, as well. So I think the performance, I think that maybe sealed it in my eyes, was how well he did in test 2 at semifinals, and just as a guy that you're like, oh, he's strong, he's powerful, and then to come out and manhandle that test that with the gymnastics, with the ruck, with the burpee box jump overs. To me, that was just an impressive performance that showcased he's podium ready for me.
Brian, number 2.
I'm going with Roman Khrennikov, number 2. I already gave
All
a
right.
ton of stats for Roman, but I want to remind people of a conversation I think we had a few weeks ago about athletes who show up at the games live for their first time and finish 2nd. Since 2010, there's 2 women who've done that. It's Tia-Claire Toomey and Laura Horvath. They didn't fall off the radar after that performance. And for the men, it's been Rich Froning, Josh Bridges, Matt Fraser, and Roman Khrennikov. I know it wasn't a rookie last year, but it was his first live performance, and I don't think he's going anywhere either.
Okay. Lauren, number 2.
All right, here's where I make my unpopular opinion, and I am A-okay with that, standing alone. And I'm putting Justin Medeiros in 2nd place. I don't think that he is going to show us the dominance of somebody that continuously wins the CrossFit Games. I think he's going to be dethroned. I know that we can't compare semifinals necessarily to games. It's apples and oranges, but having a 10th, 12th, 13th, 24th place finish, and then he got his 1st and his 5th. His final day was the best. I just don't see it happening. I think this is the year that he's edged out. Another year of Boz's programming. We kind of know what to expect, but I still think that people are going to be surprised with some of the events. And I just, in my heart, we talked about the heart, Sean. My heart says this is not his year. And I'm sorry for everybody who is going to not like that, but
you're getting some props in the comments. Some people are behind you, man. So
Throwing it
for you.
down.
Yeah, I don't think given the trend that we have seen here, and the margin tightening at the top, and what happened at semifinals, and I know that the recency bias is the last thing we have to go on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's really out there in left field. With that being said, I'm going to pick Justin Medeiros as number one. So because he's the champ until he's not, and he has shown that when he gets to this level, go back and find an execution mistake from Justin Medeiros the last 2 years of the CrossFit Games.
But
Is there a
there's
glaring
so
one?
much blood in the water right now, and the points margin is so tight.
And I absolutely, and I think that he's going to have to fight for it. But again, go back and show me a big mistake that he's ever made at the CrossFit Games. He's only won one event / test in his career, but it's the consistency there. And I do think there are more guys now that might be able to get between him and a test win, costing him a few more points here and there, which will tighten, I think, that race at the top. But when he gets to this point, it's hard for me to bet against him until someone shows that they can actually beat him on the stage. So I'm going Justin Medeiros. Tommy.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Sean's sentiments. I'm going to pick Justin. And a lot of people will point opposite, to semifinals as a reason why. And here's why that is largely irrelevant to me. He ended semifinals 93 points back of Vellner, but the length of competition matters here. Through 7 tests last year, he was 87 points back of Ricky. He finished 116 points ahead of him through the remaining part of the weekend, which is where the games would pick up on based on the 7 tests of semifinals. That's a 203-point swing in a matter of 6 to 7 events. He gained at least 100 points on every single athlete from there on out except Roman. Every single athlete in the field, Justin picked up 100 points on after test number 7. That is a huge testament just to how much better he gets as the weekend goes along. Now, in the Roman scenario, he started 27 ahead, finished 27 ahead, certainly important. But again, why and how was he able to do that? I mentioned this stat before. He's never finished a weekend event at the CrossFit Games outside of the top 10. That's the definition of consistency. He's got across 2 seasons when he won, he has an average finish of 4.66 from Saturday and Sunday, those 2 seasons. So by the time you get to Friday at the CrossFit Games, you better have a comfortable lead, or you better hope that the programming lines up your way, because that's when Justin, pins his mullet back and really starts to work downhill.
Brian, Games winner.
I am pulling for the field, but I'm picking Justin on this one. And I'm picking him, amongst the men, the competitive men at the top of the leaderboard, there has been this multiple year initiative, like someone just needs to beat this guy. And every time that you thought there was a chance, something happened and he ended up on top again. At Rogue, at the Games, last year at semis, he just found this way to win. All of a sudden this year at semis, he doesn't just not win, but 4 people beat him. And I think it was the worst thing that could have happened for the field, because, it doesn't matter how good you've been. And when you take a blow, it affects you differently. And it's really difficult to find the motivation when you're always winning, because it's like, well, it just keeps going my way. I keep doing the same thing. It's going to be good. But I watched him super, super closely as they were making those announcements on the floor in Pasadena. And I think that those moments are what's replaying in his head for these 2 months leading up to the games. Sean, to your point, or your question, I should say, I wrote an article last year after the games. I honestly, I don't know what platform it's published on at this point anymore, but it's out there somewhere. And over the last 2 seasons, if you broke every individual test from the games down into thirds, so if it was a 3-round workout, that'd be at the end of round 1, 2, and at the final. If it was a 15-minute workout, at the end of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the final. He improved from the first third to the second third to the final third on over 80% of the workouts against his heat. It's hard to judge it against the entire field because I don't have intervals for all that stuff. But if he was in 5th, he'd move to 4th, he'd move to 2nd in his heat. If he was in 10th, he'd move to 8th, he'd move to 2nd. It was just 80% of the time or more he's doing that. His execution, his pacing, not just of the weekend, but in every individual event, is better than everyone else. And at the games, until someone beats him, I've been saying it, I'm gonna stick with him.
Yep. All right, Lauren, you've already put Justin Medeiros in 2nd place. So who's winning this thing?
Roman Khrennikov.
Okay.
And I have a question. Do y'all agree that his weakest movement is ring muscle ups?
I will defer to Brian on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I
Well,
said earlier, it's
field-
basically cost him each of the last 4 competitions that he's participated in.
Okay. Knowing that we already saw ring muscle ups in the open quarterfinals and semifinals, there is potential that we don't see ring muscle ups at the CrossFit Games. If that is the fact, his biggest hole in his training possibly won't show up at the CrossFit Games. That is just one reason, but many reasons are because I think this is his year for all of the reasons that I've already said. He is dethroning Justin. We're saying it today at 4:11 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, a week before I get to Madison, and he's going to be fueled by his bananas. The man loves bananas, and he is going to win the CrossFit Games. Champion
To Cave
2023.
Dastro's point, have we ever not seen ring muscle ups at the CrossFit Games?
There's actually an article that Barkley wrote that's up on Be Friendly Fitness right now that that goes through those types of things. So you can look up all the stats over there. I can't remember exactly how often they show up, but they show up pretty regularly.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Okay, so to recap, all of us except for Lauren agree that Justin Medeiros is going his 3rd straight. Lauren has Roman Khrennikov winning, with Medeiros finishing 2nd. Do we want to do just like you guys want to do like a dark horse here and then call it a day?
I mean, we can be quick on like what our dark horse
All right.
rookie of the year picks
okay,
are.
so I'll start. I think dark horse, I got a couple. I'm going to go Sam Cornway. I think he could be a factor inside the top 10, maybe make a little noise. My rookie of the year, probably James Sprague.
Ooh.
And I think most improved. I'll even throw most improved out. Dallin Pepper. I think Dallin Pepper's poised for a big performance. So those are my 3. What do you got?
My dark horse is Heinrich Kapelainen.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think a big part of being a dark horse is nobody sees you coming. I bet if you walked out in the street and just lined up 10 finish men and asked people to point out which one Heinrich was, most of the people would get it wrong. And I just think that he had a slight regression last year, and he's going to make a big improvement this year without getting too far into it. My rookie of the year is going to be Kai Servani from Brazil.
Oh, right.
I think you look at everyone, the popular pick has been Yella Hosta, but in the cross-regional comparison, or I guess the cross-semifinal comparison, Kai only picked up about 20, I think it was 26 points less than Yella, and that's without those flashy home run hits across the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's a sneaky pick for rookie of the year. Most improved for me on the men is Cole Grieshaber. He was in the 30s last year. I just think across the board, every time he's shown up, he's gotten better, and I think he is a top 20 to potentially top 15 caliber guy this year. That from a numbers game could put him in the contention for most improved.
And we're talking men right now. We'll do this again for the women on Thursday. But you may have seen Chase Ingram dropping in the comments. 2007, 2008. I think the last time we did not see.
Maybe 2016. There were ring muscle ups for the men as an enter into the separator, but the women didn't have to do that. That's the only other year that I have.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Was there ring muscle ups in 2020?
2020.
I don't.
There may
No, because that was the
There
COVID
were
year.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Even at the ranch, there
were bar muscle ups that year.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Brian, what do you got? Give us a rookie of the year, a dark horse, and a most improved.
Rookie of the year, I'm going with Yella Hoste. I've pretty much run every analysis that I can in this regard. I can't see anyone else in the field beating him amongst the rookies. Most improved, I'm going with Chandler Smith, even though he wasn't at the games last year. It gives him a lot of runway.
That's actually a really good one.
That's kind of a cheating pick, but no one's really talking about him. And I think he's, I don't know if he can make into the top 10, but I think he's like 11 through 15. I feel like he's pretty steady in that space. And I just kind of want to bring him up since I haven't heard many people address him at all.
I like that one.
And dark horse, this is actually a dark horse podium pick, and it's my 6th place overall rank, which is Sam Quant, who got a little bit of mention earlier. I've also been doing some studying on Sam Quant. I know that Lauren says it's difficult to track his training, but his performances in competitions do lend themselves extremely well to what the games traditionally test for. And even though we only did our top 5 today, he's the last guy in that group of men at the top that I think can push for the podium. So I kind of consider that a dark horse.
Why do you think, and I'll just say we, because I definitely did think about Sam Quant when I was picking my top 5. And I had him right. I was like, I got to put him on the outside. There's just a couple guys I like better. Why do you think we overlook him for that? Like what
I mean, I gotta be honest, like I don't feel like I'm overlooking him. I just,
No, I don't either, but I think most people like
it's just as probably, quiet guy, reserved life, reserved in interviews, very much a business as usual type of guy. Usually doesn't have those big flashy performances, celebrations. So none of that stuff is working in his favor in terms of getting a lot of fanfare or attention. But the work proves itself, and as soon as it was a Granite Games two semifinals ago that I was like, okay, this guy's back. He backed it up with a great performance at the games. He's been pretty steady and consistent every time we've seen him since then. So I think he's in the mix, but because of that reason, he also kind of falls into the dark horse category.
I mean, but to be fair, before his podium finish in 2020, there wasn't really much reason to consider him a podium threat before that. 16th, 20th, cut in 2019, missed 2018 due to a knee injury. He comes back and takes second. Everyone goes, all right, well, we're getting at it into a full normal season. What does that look like? Obviously, he was ill, so that kind of pulls the spotlight back off of you again, and then comes back in a big way in 2022. So the progression and things that have happened in between, whether it's injury or illness, also kind of add to that.
He's also in the sweet spot age-wise, 27 to 28 years old. I think he's 27 this year, is kind of the optimal years historically in this sport for men.
Lauren, rookie of the year, most improved, and a dark horse.
Rookie of the year has got to be Yella Hosta. Most improved, I think somebody else, maybe Tommy, picked Dale and Pepper. I would agree with that. And then, Sean, kudos to you. Same. And dark horse is going to be Fabian Benito.
All right.
Add him into the conversation.
Okay.
Tommy's face.
What, Tommy? What do you have to say? What speak your truth.
Hey, this is that's where you.
I didn't even. So we obviously had our stuff listed out, and I didn't see it. You didn't have one listed for the men coming into it.
You're right.
And so you just kind of reached into the grab bag and saw what came out.
Well, the nice thing about the dark horse category is it's wide open. You could do something like me and pick a dark horse podium pick. You could say, you know what, no one's talking about Fabian. I think he has a chance to make the cuts, and that's my dark horse pick. And you could go anywhere in between.
There you go. Okay. Do we want to do PRs and no reps? Anybody got a PR and no rep they want to get to before we close this thing out? I'm going to PR the chat. You guys have been entertaining.
Yeah. We do have a
got a community support.
Community support, yeah.
Right.
This one was sent over by our friend Kristen Harrington.
Okay.
Yeah. So this year, they have what's called the 5th year of Why Suffer Alone, which aims to raise money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention through a fundraiser called Suffer with Friends. It's challenged. It's one workout that's completed during the weekend of August 18th and 20th. This year, there is a gym affiliate kit for gyms interested in participating. If you want to access more information, you can go to the website, sufferwithfriends.com/WSA, or they have an Instagram handle at sufferwithfriends, and click the link in the bio. This is their 5th. Our friend Kristen is their 5th year supporting the cause. They have everything from workout deals or workout details. You can pre-order the event shirt to support it. They have the affiliate kit there, or you can just register and participate to help raise money as well. So again, go to sufferwithfriends.com/WSA to support an awesome fundraiser.
Cool. Jake, yes. Hit me up on Instagram. I know what you got. I'll try to help you out if I can. Do a little voiceover work. Not going to turn that down. All right. Any PRs and no reps we got to get to?
I don't know. Brian was at the
DMV.
DMV.
We opened the show with that.
I will actually PR the overall experience. It was fairly painless. I will no rep the half dozen people that I saw show up without their proper documentation and got sent away. And I'm just super grateful that I got it all done in one try.
Nice work, man.
I'm going to give a PR and no rep both to my dad.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we were out camping for my father-in-law's 60th birthday. There was a pool area that had a diving board, I'm going to no rep him for his first attempt at something on the diving board when he just flailed and flopped. And then I'm going to PR him for actually doing I think it was like a front flip and a twist at 67 years old off the diving board. Didn't know he still had that in him. So I was
hasn't been off the couch the last 2 days, but he did it.
I know. I was waiting to have to dive in to maybe like scoop him up off the bottom, but he did it. So kudos to him.
All right, Lauren, you got anything?
Yeah,
PR no rep?
I am going to PR my dad and my brother because last weekend it was my 3-year-old nephew's birthday party. And every single year I dress up as like whatever the theme is. And this year it was PJ Mask, which involves not 1 but 3 characters.
Yep.
So without knowing, I ordered my dad and brother a costume to be 2 of the other characters, which involved
Catboy and Go.
Yep. Thank you, Sean. Which involved onesies, and they sucked it up. They put on the costume, and it was a hit.
Nice.
Oh man.
And then I'm gonna no rep actually myself because my nephew knew that I was not the real Owlette because Owlette's hair is short. And the one at the birthday party, it was long. So
Oh man.
Oh, and you didn't cut your hair for the
Busted.
bit?
I
Not a full
didn't. I
commit.
didn't.
Exactly. All right, guys. That's going to do it for today. We are going to do this again on Thursday, time TBD, maybe around the same time, I think. Probably just do the same time. We'll go through this whole rigmarole again for the women. And then, man, it's on to the CrossFit Games. Want to thank again our sponsor for today. That is Podium. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. It takes you right to their summertime bundle. Get the orange Dreamsicle. It is unbelievably good. And if you can't get that, grab the lemonade. You can use our code TEF to get $10 off your order. You can scan that QR code on your screen right now and support a great sponsor and a great partner. Cool. All right. That's going to do it, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. That was a lot of fun. For Lauren Khalil, Brian Friend, and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. Take care of each other. Be better.